For 2 years, my gaming crew had been my brothers. Every night we would jump into tactical shooters together, voices crackling through headsets as we coordinated moves and cracked jokes. Derek, Marcus, Tyler, Jake. I knew their play styles, their laughs, their stories, but I had never seen their faces. Then one day, Derek sent a message that changed everything. Time to meet in real-life boys. He dropped an address. Serenity Hills Recovery Center. Denver. I figured it was some trendy bar with a wellness vibe. I was so excited. Finally, I would meet the people who felt like family. I packed my car, drove 3 hours, my heart racing the whole way. When I pulled up and saw the sign, my stomach dropped. This was not a bar. This was a rehab facility. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. And if you have ever had an online friendship turn into something real, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, this meetup was nothing like I expected. I need to back up for a second and explain how much these guys meant to me. We met in a random match 2 years ago. Derek had this deep, calm voice that made you trust him instantly. He was 28, always the tactical mind of our group. When things got chaotic in the game, Derek would call out strategies and we would follow without question. He led us to victory so many times, I lost count. There was something about the way he spoke that made you feel safe, like he had everything under control, even when we were getting destroyed. Marcus was my best friend in the crew. 25 years old, always cracking jokes, always making us laugh even when we were losing badly. He had this energy that kept everyone loose and having fun. I remember nights when we would be on our 5th straight match exhausted, and Marcus would tell some ridiculous story about his day that had us all howling into our microphones. He could turn a terrible losing streak into the best night just by being himself. Tyler was the quiet one. 30 years old, a sniper main, deadly accurate. He did not talk much, but when he did, it mattered. He had this way of dropping wisdom in the middle of chaos. Tyler would wait for the perfect moment, take the shot, and then say something profound about patience or timing. I respected him deeply. There was weight to everything he said. And Jake, the youngest at 23, was pure energy. Sometimes reckless, always loyal. He would charge into situations without thinking, and we would have to bail him out, but we loved him for it. Jake brought excitement to every match. His enthusiasm was infectious, and even when his tactics got us killed, nobody could stay mad at him. Gaming was not just a hobby for us. It was where we connected. We talked about work, family life, nothing too deep, but enough to know we cared about each other. I worked a boring office job during the day, and every night I looked forward to logging on and hearing their voices. It was the highlight of my day. These guys carried me through countless missions, and I did the same for them. We had this unspoken bond. Brotherhood through bullets and respawns. When one of us had a bad day, the others could tell just by the tone of voice. We supported each other without even realizing it. I remember this one night when we played for 6 hours straight. We were trying to complete this impossible challenge, and we failed over and over. But nobody quit. Nobody got frustrated. We just kept going, kept joking, kept trying. At 3 in the morning, we finally did it. The celebration in the voice chat was pure joy. That is when I knew these were not just gaming buddies. These were real friends. Then Derek sent that message. Let's finally meet. I found a place where we can all hang. My heart jumped. 2 years of friendship, and finally we would be in the same room. The address he sent was in Denver, 3 hours from my place. Serenity Hills Recovery Center. I looked it up quickly, but the website was vague. I assumed it was some kind of event space or restaurant with a calming theme. Maybe they had a wellness angle meditation rooms or something. I did not think much of it. The name sounded peaceful, artsy even, like the kind of place that would serve organic food and have inspirational quotes on the walls. I spent the whole morning picking out what to wear. I wanted to look casual but put together. Not too formal, but not like I just rolled out of bed. I changed shirts 3 times. I imagined us sitting around a table, beers in hand, laughing about all the stupid moments in our games. I pictured high fives, maybe some competitive trash talk in person. Maybe we would play some pool or try an escape room together. I was nervous, sure, but in the best way. I felt like a kid on Christmas morning. The drive to Denver felt long. I kept glancing at my phone, checking the group chat. Everyone was quiet. I figured they were all driving too, or maybe they were already there setting things up. I thought about all the times Derek had carried our team, all the times Marcus made me laugh when I was having a terrible day, all the silent moments Tyler had my back, all the chaotic energy Jake brought. These were real friendships. I knew that. And now I would finally see their faces. I would finally shake their hands and look them in the eye. As I got closer to Denver, I started imagining what they looked like. Would Derek have that commanding presence in person? Would he be tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of guy who naturally leads? Would Marcus be as animated face-to-face, gesturing wildly as he told his stories? Would Tyler still be quiet, or would he open up more without the barrier of a screen? Would Jake be bouncing off the walls, unable to sit still? I could not wait to find out. I had this whole fantasy built up in my head. This was going to be the best day. We would take photos, create new inside jokes based on real-life moments, maybe even plan future trips together. When I pulled into the parking lot, my excitement started to crack. The building in front of me looked clinical. Large institutional with wide glass doors and perfectly manicured lawns. There was something sterile about it, something that did not match the fun, casual vibe I had been expecting. And then I saw the sign. Large letters impossible to miss. Serenity Hills Recovery Center. Substance Abuse Treatment. Wait, this is a rehab facility. I sat in my car staring at the sign. My brain scrambled to make sense of it. Maybe there was a conference room they rented out. Maybe the bar was attached to the building somehow. Some facilities have restaurants, right? I grabbed my phone and checked the address again. This was it. This was exactly where Derek told us to meet. No mistake. No wrong turn. My hands were shaking as I called him. He picked up on the second ring. "Yeah, man, come inside. We are all here." His voice sounded normal, upbeat even. I could barely speak. "Derek, this is a rehab center." There was a pause. Then calmly, he said, "I know. Just come in. I will explain." My heart was pounding. Something was very wrong. But I had driven 3 hours. I could not just turn around without understanding what was happening. I got out of my car, my legs feeling weak, and walked toward the entrance. The automatic doors slid open with a soft whoosh, and I stepped into a quiet lobby. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs arranged in small clusters, a receptionist behind a desk who smiled politely at me. Gentle music played from hidden speakers. Everything was designed to be calming, but I felt anything but calm. I must have looked confused because the receptionist immediately asked if I needed help. "I am here to see someone." I said, my voice barely steady. I did not even know what to say. Who was I visiting? Why was I here? Before she could respond, I heard a familiar voice. "Bryson." I turned. Marcus was walking toward me from a hallway. My best friend from the crew. But he did not look the way I imagined. He was thinner than I expected, almost gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. His clothes hung a bit loose on his frame. He looked tired, worn down by something I could not name. But when he smiled, it was the same smile I heard in his voice every night. That same warmth. Surprise, huh? I did not know what to say. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Marcus clapped me on the shoulder like we were old friends meeting at a coffee shop and led me down a hallway. His hand on my shoulder felt real solid, and that grounded me a little. We walked past rooms with closed doors, nameplates beside them, privacy glass that let light through but kept secrets in. We passed a common area where a few people sat quietly, some reading, some just staring at nothing. Everyone looked like they were carrying something heavy. My mind was racing. What was happening? Why was Marcus here? Where were the others? Was everyone okay? Had something terrible happened that I did not know about? We stepped outside into a courtyard. It was a nice space with benches arranged around the perimeter, some plants in raised beds, a small fountain in the center that burbled softly. The whole area was surrounded by the building on all sides and closed but open to the sky. And there they were, Derek, Tyler, Jake. All sitting on a bench waiting. They looked different than I imagined. Not bad, just real. More human, more vulnerable. Derek was tall, clean-cut, but there was something worn in his expression, like he had seen things he wished he could forget. Tyler had graying hair at his temples, deeper lines around his eyes than a 30-year-old should have. There was a sadness in his eyes that made my chest hurt. Jake looked young, almost too young to be dealing with whatever this was with a nervous energy even while sitting still. His leg bounced slightly, a constant motion. The four of them stood up when they saw me. Nobody said anything for a moment. The air was thick with awkwardness, with unspoken things. I felt like I had walked into something I was not supposed to see, like I had intruded on something deeply private. Derek finally broke the silence. "We owe you an explanation." We sat down on the benches. The courtyard was quiet except for the fountain and the distant sound of traffic beyond the walls. I waited. My heart was still pounding, but I tried to stay calm. Whatever this was, they would tell me. Marcus went first. He told me about the car accident 2 years ago. A drunk driver ran a red light, hit him broadside. The impact shattered 3 vertebrae in his lower back. The doctors gave him pain pills to manage the agony. At first, it was just to get through the day, to be able to stand up, to be able to function. Then it became something else. The pills did not just take away physical pain. They took away everything. The fear, the anxiety, the weight of existence. He started taking more than prescribed. Then he started finding other ways to get them. Doctor shopping, buying from friends, eventually from strangers. Gaming became his escape. When he was in the game with us, he did not think about the pills. He did not think about how much he needed them. For a few hours, every night he was just Marcus, the funny guy, the one who made everyone laugh. Tyler went next. His voice was quiet, like always, but there was a tremble in it I had never heard before. He told me about the drinking. It started after he lost his job 3 years ago. Laid off, just a number in a spreadsheet, 30 years old, and suddenly unemployed. 1 drink to take the edge off turned into 3, then 5, then a bottle a night. He lost relationships because people could not stand watching him destroy himself. He lost his apartment when he could not pay rent. He lost himself somewhere along the way, buried under the weight of shame and liquor. Gaming was the only place he felt in control. The only place where his hands were steady and his mind was clear. The only place where he mattered. Jake was the hardest to hear. He was 23, barely more than a kid, and he had gotten into the party scene with the wrong crowd. Drugs became normal, expected, just part of the social fabric. Pills at parties, powder in bathrooms, anything to keep the good times rolling. He did not even realize he had a problem until he woke up in a hospital after an overdose at a house party. His family found him barely breathing. His mother begged him to get help, crying so hard she could barely speak. Gaming was the only place he felt like he belonged, where people did not judge him, where he did not feel like a disappointment. Then Derek spoke. He talked about prescription medication, about anxiety and depression that had plagued him since college, about how things spiraled when he tried to self-medicate. He said gaming gave him purpose when everything else felt empty and meaningless. He said this place, Serenity Hills, was where they all ended up. Separately at first, then they realized they were all here together in the same program. That is when they decided it was time to meet me. To finally show me who they really were. "You have been part of our recovery without even knowing," Derek said, his eyes meeting mine. "Every night we logged on, we felt normal. We felt like we mattered. You gave us that. You and the game gave us a reason to stay clean during the day, something to look forward to." I sat there overwhelmed. My chest felt tight. I did not know what to say. These were my brothers. And they had been fighting battles I did not know existed. I felt honored that they trusted me enough to share this. I felt sad for the pain they had been through, the suffering they had endured alone. But mostly, I felt a deep sense of connection. This was real. This was more real than any game we had ever played. This was raw, honest human. We sat there for a long time, just talking. Not about games, not about strategies or loadouts or the next big tournament. About life, about struggle, about hope and fear, and the daily battle to keep going. I felt closer to them in that hour than I had in 2 years of gaming. But something started to bother me. As Marcus, Tyler, and Jake continued sharing their stories, opening up about group therapy sessions and hard nights and small victories, I noticed Derek was different. The other guys were raw emotional, their voices cracking when they talked about their lowest moments. They were specific about their pain. Marcus described the exact moment he realized he was taking pills, not for pain, but to feel something, anything. Tyler talked about waking up on a park bench in February frost on his jacket, not remembering how he got there. Jake described calling his mother from the hospital, hearing her sob with relief that he was alive. Derek, though, kept his story vague. He mentioned anxiety and prescription meds, but he never got specific. He never mentioned which medication, what his doses were, what doctor prescribed them, how long he had been struggling, what his rock-bottom moment was. Every other person here could pinpoint the exact moment they knew they needed help. Derek just talked in broad strokes about feeling empty and needing purpose. I tried to brush it off. Maybe he was just more private. Maybe his story was harder to tell. But the more I listened, the more something felt off. Marcus, Tyler, and Jake looked like people in recovery. They had that exhausted, fragile look of people rebuilding themselves from the ground up, one day at a time. Their skin had that pallor that comes from fighting your own body and brain. Derek looked healthy. Too healthy. His eyes were bright and clear, his skin had color, he looked rested. He did not have the same worn-down appearance. He looked like someone who had been getting solid sleep and eating well and exercising regularly. And his phone kept buzzing. Every few minutes he would glance at it, his eyes flicking down to the screen, then quickly put it away. At first I thought maybe it was family checking in, making sure he was okay. But after the 5th or 6th time it seemed excessive. And each time he checked it, there was this little smile, this satisfied expression that did not match the somber mood of our conversation. We talked for another hour. The afternoon sun moved across the courtyard, shadows shifting. The guys shared more about their time at Serenity Hills, the structure of the days, the group therapy sessions where they had to face uncomfortable truths, the hard days when they wanted to give up the small victories like making it through a weekend without cravings. Derek participated, nodding along, adding comments here and there, but his answers felt rehearsed, like he was saying what he thought he should say, not what he actually felt, like he had practiced these responses. Eventually, I said I needed to use the restroom. My bladder was full from the coffee I had downed on the drive, and I also needed a moment alone to process everything. Derek stood up immediately. "I will show you where it is." We walked back inside together. The hallways were quiet, most residents probably in their rooms or at scheduled activities. Our footsteps echoed slightly on the polished floors. He pointed down a corridor. "Second door, on the right. Cannot miss it." I nodded and started walking. His room was along the way, the door slightly open. I did not mean to look. I really did not. But as I passed, something caught my eye, and I stopped. Inside Derek's room, I could see a laptop on the desk. Next to it, a ring light, the kind streamers use for good lighting. A small camera on a tripod positioned to capture the perfect angle. The laptop screen was facing me, and I could see it clearly. A streaming platform was open. The title read, "Day 47 of My Recovery Journey." Below it, a donation tracker showing real-time contributions. A subscriber count that was climbing. Viewer analytics displayed in a sidebar. Recent comments scrolling past people sending encouragement and money. I stood frozen in the doorway. My brain could not process what I was seeing. Derek was streaming his rehab stay. He was broadcasting this. I forced myself to keep walking to the bathroom before he noticed I had stopped. I locked the door behind me and stared at myself in the mirror. My hands were gripping the sink so hard my knuckles were white. Was Derek monetizing this? Was he making content out of being here? Out of other people's genuine suffering, I splashed cold water on my face, trying to think clearly. I tried to convince myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe he was documenting his journey to help others going through the same thing. Maybe it was therapeutic a way to process his feelings. Maybe he was raising awareness. But the donation tracker, the subscriber count, the professional setup with the ring light and camera that felt different. That felt like business. That felt calculated. I went back to the courtyard, my mind spinning with questions I could not answer. I sat down with the group, but now I was watching Derek differently. And once I started really looking, I saw more things that did not add up. He mentioned my audience twice in casual conversation when talking about sharing his story. When the staff came by to check on everyone, they spent more time with Marcus, Tyler, and Jake, asking how they were feeling, if they needed anything, checking in on their progress. They barely acknowledged Derek beyond a polite nod, like he was not really part of the program. When Jake talked about a particularly hard night of cravings, how he almost walked out of the facility, how he called his sponsor at 2 a.m, Derek nodded along sympathetically. But he did not share his own version of that experience. He did not add a "me too" or "I remember when that happened to me." When Marcus mentioned group therapy and how intense it was to hear other people's stories, Derek changed the subject quickly, steering the conversation somewhere else. I felt sick. Marcus, Tyler, and Jake were real. Their pain was real, raw, visceral. Their recovery was genuine, hard-fought, one day at a time. But Derek, I was not so sure anymore. And if he was not real, if he was faking this, then he was using their real suffering as set dressing for his content. I needed to know the truth. I waited until Marcus, Tyler, and Jake were distracted laughing about some memory from a game we played months ago. Then I pulled Marcus aside. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure, man. What is up?" He looked at me with those tired but trusting eyes. Derek's addiction. What exactly was he struggling with? Marcus paused, his face scrunching up as he thought about it. "Honestly, I am not totally sure. He never really talks about it in detail, like we all share pretty openly in group, but Derek keeps things surface level. But he is the one who brought us all together here. He is the one who told us about this place, helped us get in vouched for the program. So I figure he knows what he is talking about." That confirmed it. Something was very wrong. Derek had recruited them here. Later that afternoon, when the others went inside for some scheduled activity, I found Derek alone in the hallway near his room. "We need to talk." He looked at me, his expression shifting from friendly to guarded in an instant. "What is going on? I saw your setup. The streaming equipment, the camera, the donation tracker. What is really happening here?" His face changed completely. The friendly mask dropped and I saw something else underneath. Calculation. He looked defensive, cornered. "I am sharing my journey to help others. There is nothing wrong with that. Are you actually in recovery? Or is this just content for your channel?" His jaw tightened. Muscles flexed in his cheeks. "You do not understand how this works. This is my job. I create content. I help people by showing them what recovery looks like." I felt anger rising in my chest, hot and sharp. "Your job? Derek, are you even addicted to anything? Have you ever been?" He did not answer right away. His eyes darted to the side, looking for an exit, an escape route. That silence was all the answer I needed. "You are not, are you? You admitted yourself here to make content, to build your brand." He tried to defend himself, his voice rising. "Look, I am raising awareness about addiction. People need to see what recovery looks like. I am doing good work here. But you are not in recovery. You are faking it. And you brought Marcus, Tyler, and Jake here, people who actually need help. Real people with real problems, to make your story look legitimate. To add authenticity to your content. They are getting help. are they not? He spread his hands, like this was obvious. It is a win-win situation. They get treatment. I get content. Everybody benefits. I could not believe what I was hearing. The audacity of it. This is fraud, Derek. You are using insurance to cover a stay you do not need. You are not actually sick. And you are exploiting people who trusted you, who thought you were one of them. He stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous now. You do not know what you are talking about. You do not understand the first thing about content creation or building an audience. Stay out of it. This does not concern you. But I could not stay out of it. Not when Marcus had opened up to me about his darkest moments. Not when Tyler had shared his shame with tears in his eyes. Not when Jake had trusted me with his story. Not when they thought Derek was one of them fighting the same fight. I did not sleep that night. I checked into a cheap hotel about 2 miles from the facility, but sleep would not come. I laid in the dark, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through everything I had seen and heard. By the time the sun came up, I knew what I had to do. There was no other choice. I went back to Serenity Hills first thing in the morning and asked to speak with the program director. The receptionist made a call, and 10 minutes later a woman named Dr. Lawson met with me in her office. She was in her 50s with gray hair pulled back in a practical bun and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She invited me to sit and folded her hands on her desk. I explained everything. The streaming setup in Derek's room, the camera and ring light and laptop, the donation tracker I had seen on his screen. I told her about our conversation about how he had admitted he was not actually struggling with addiction, about how this was content for his channel. I told her about the insurance fraud, about how he was occupying a bed that someone else desperately needed. I told her how he had recruited Marcus, Tyler, and Jake using their real pain as background for his manufactured story. Her face went from concerned to serious to angry as I spoke. Her lips pressed into a thin line. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment, then she nodded slowly. "Thank you for coming forward. This is extremely serious. We will investigate immediately." I asked the question that had been gnawing at me all night. What about Marcus, Tyler, and Jake? Will this affect their treatment? She shook her head firmly. They are here for legitimate reasons. Their treatment will continue uninterrupted. They are safe. We will make sure of that. This is about Derek, not them. I felt a weight lift off my chest. I had done the right thing. It was going to be messy and uncomfortable, but it was right. That afternoon, I met with Marcus, Tyler, and Jake in the courtyard again. They were waiting for me, smiling, ready for another visit. I sat down and told them everything. About the streaming setup, about Derek's confession about the fraud, about how he had been using their real recovery as content. I laid it all out. They sat in stunned silence. The color drained from Marcus's face. "I trusted him," he said quietly. "He told me he understood what I was going through. He said he had been where I was." Tyler shook his head slowly, disbelief written across his features. "I thought we were in this together. I told him things I have never told anyone. Private things." Jake looked absolutely crushed, like I had just told him his best friend had died. Gaming was the one place I felt real, the one place where nobody was lying to me. And he faked everything. All of it. We sat there for a long time, processing. The afternoon light shifted through the courtyard. They were hurt, deeply hurt, but they were also grateful. I had said something. "Better to know now than to find out later," Marcus finally said. "Better to know who he really is." Within an hour, 2 staff members came out and escorted Derek out of the facility. He was packing a bag, arguing with them, his voice carrying across the courtyard. I saw him try to pull out his phone, probably to document this too, but one of the staff members told him to put it away. He looked over at us, at me specifically, his face twisted with anger. He tried calling me later, texting me, sending message after message, but I did not respond. Neither did the others. We blocked his number, deleted him from the game, erased him from our lives. I made a decision that day. I was not leaving Denver. Not yet. Not until I knew these guys were going to be okay. I called my boss, explained I needed to take some personal time, and took a week off work. I found a longer-term hotel with a kitchenette and stayed. I visited Marcus, Tyler, and Jake every single day. We talked, really talked. Not through headsets, not through game chat, not hiding behind avatars. Face to face, honest, raw, real. I learned about Marcus's childhood, about growing up with a father who expected perfection, about the accident that shattered not just his spine but his sense of control, about his fear of being a burden to his family who had already sacrificed so much for him. I learned about Tyler's divorce, about the wife who tried to help him, but eventually had to save herself, about the loneliness that drove him to drink until the world blurred, about the shame he carried like a weight on his shoulders. I learned about Jake's insecurities, about feeling like he never fit in anywhere, about the pressure he felt to be cool and accepted, about the moment in the hospital when he realized he did not want to die. And they learned about me. My own struggles with feeling disconnected from the world, with using gaming as an escape from a life I felt stuck in, from a job that meant nothing, and relationships that felt shallow. We were honest with each other in a way we never had been before. Gaming had connected us, but honesty was making us brothers. I attended family sessions with them when they invited me. I met Marcus's sister, Tyler's ex-wife, Jake's mother. I sat in on group therapy once with their permission and listened to them share with other residents. I learned about addiction from counselors and therapists, about how it rewires the brain, about how recovery is not a straight line, but a daily choice. These guys were warriors. Not because they could win matches or pull off perfect headshots, because they showed up every single day and did the hard work of healing, because they faced their demons without flinching. Before I left Denver to go back home, I made them a promise. I will be here for you. Not just online, in real life, whenever you need me, day or night, crisis or celebration. I am here. They made the same promise to me. We exchanged real phone numbers, real addresses, real plans. 6 months later, Marcus completed the program. I drove back to Denver for his graduation ceremony. He got a job at a warehouse, something physical that kept him moving and tired him out in a good way. He started rebuilding his relationship with his sister, going to her house for Sunday dinners, playing with his nephew. Tyler reconciled with his ex-wife not to get back together romantically, but to find peace and closure and maybe friendship. He has been sober for over a year now, attending meetings 3 times a week, sponsoring 2 other men in recovery. Jake enrolled in community college studying graphic design, channeling his energy into creating art instead of destroying himself. He found a purpose beyond just getting through the day, beyond just surviving. We still game together, but it is different now. Better. We have boundaries. We take breaks when we need to. We talk about real things between matches. Gaming is a hobby now, not an escape, not a crutch. It is fun again, pure and simple. And we see each other in person, too. I drive to Denver once a month. We grab dinner at this diner Tyler likes, go to movies, just hang out like normal friends. We have regular friend stuff now, not just digital connection. Derek last, I heard he was charged with insurance fraud. His streaming channel got taken down for violating terms of service. He lost his audience almost overnight when the story broke. He lost his income, his reputation, everything he had built. I do not feel good about that. I do not take pleasure in his downfall or his suffering, but I do not regret what I did either. Some things are more important than loyalty to someone who was never really your friend in the first place. Real friendship is not built on lies and manipulation. It is built on showing up, telling the truth, even when it is hard, and standing by people when they need you most. Marcus, Tyler, and Jake taught me that. They showed me what real courage looks like. Not the courage to charge into battle in a video game, but the courage to face yourself, to admit you need help to do the work of becoming better. I thought I was meeting my gaming crew that day in Denver. What I actually found was something way more valuable. Real brotherhood. The kind that shows up when you're at your lowest. The kind that tells the truth even when it hurts. The kind that sticks around when things get hard and messy and complicated. We still game together. We still laugh and joke and compete. But now we actually know each other. The real version's not the polished online personas. And that is a connection no headset could ever create. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had a friendship that started online and became real? Have you ever had to make a hard choice to protect someone you care about, even if it cost you? Drop your story in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And if this story meant something to you, if it made you think about your own friendships and what is real, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might be struggling, or someone who values genuine connection. Real friendship matters. Real connection matters. Being there for people truly there, that is what counts. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope you find your people the real ones, the ones who show up not just online but in life. The ones who tell you the truth. The ones who fight beside you. Take care of yourselves out there. And remember, the best connections are built on honesty, not illusion.